So the Book of Boba Fett Season 1 Episode 3 The Streets of Mos Espa has just dropped and gives us a look at the other side of Boba Fett's criminal empire, one that he didn't even know existed. We got a good look at the new major threat to Boba's empire, as well as the ferocious wookiee himself, Black Krrsantan, going absolutely ballistic. So let's break down everything that went down in the episode and how it connects to the other Star Wars books, comics and TV shows. Also remember to leave your episode rating out of 10 in the comments and subscribe for a whole lot more Book of Boba Fett content throughout the show. So the episode begins right off with a spider-like droid walking in front of Jabba's palace. This is actually the same type of droid seen in Return of the Jedi, known as a brainwalker, which holds the brains of a very weird cult of monks. These monks are called the Boma Order, and they believe that cutting themselves off from all physical sensation was the key to enlightenment. And they took that to its absolute extreme by cutting off all of their physical senses, remaining as just a brain in a jar. Following that, Boba is given a briefing by 88, the infamous smelter droid who showed up in Return of the Jedi torturing a gonk droid, about the situation after Jabba's death. He goes on to say that the disaster on the sail barge, which we of course saw in Star Wars Episode 6, there was a major power vacuum left over. In this vacuum, Bib Fortuna took over and divided Mos Espa among three families. A crime family of Trandoshans took the city centre, the Aquilish took the workers' district, and the Klatooinians took the starport area of the city. After that, Boba Fett invites in one of the local businessmen to hear about the ongoing issues, and in the conversation, Boba Fett drops a nice little throwback to his origins, surrounded by water, of course referencing Kamino before it was mostly destroyed. The man also recounts that Tatooine used to be covered by vast oceans. This is a direct reference to KOTOR and the Dawn of the Jedi comics going back over 26,000 years before the current timeline, where Tatooine was a lush tropical world. That all changed though when the Krrsantan Infinite Empire, who were the most dominant species at the time, arrived and enslaved the native population known as the Kamumga. When the natives rebelled against the Krrsantan's harsh treatment, they glassed the planet from orbit, drying up all of its oceans and covering it in sand. Because of this, the Kamumga were forced to retreat underground, and over thousands of years they eventually evolved into two distinct species, the Tuskens and the Jawas. Either way, Boba is then told about a group of young street urchins who augment their bodies with droid parts and cause terror for the local salesmen and business. Boba agrees to put them in their place because it becomes pretty clear that nobody in Mos Espa respects him when these kids are causing so much trouble and stealing. Boba then resolves the dispute by forcing the watermonger to accept less credits, and then recruits the band of young street urchins to work for him. Straight after this, we cut back into the Bacta tank, which as you know by now is the catalyst for all of Boba's flashbacks. We rush straight into a vision from Kamino where Boba Fett watches his father Jango fly the Slave One off-world while he's holed up inside of the Kaminoan facilities. We then go back to the sands of Tatooine once again, where Boba Fett rides into Mos Eisley on a bantha. The first little awesome Easter egg as he rides in are the stormtrooper helmets on Pikes, which is actually a callback all the way to the first season of The Mandalorian, which are the same ones Din Djarin walks by in both the trailers and the episodes. In the background of this scene, we also get a very tiny cameo of Pelli Motto and her pit droids from that same Mandalorian Season 1 episode, but you have to be paying very close attention not to miss this one. Soon after, Boba Fett walks down the streets of Mos Eisley until he arrives at the Pyke Syndicate headquarters and enters swiftly. The Pikes were of course seen in Solo: A Star Wars Story, as they are infamous for operating the spice mines of Kessel, as well as the Clone Wars Season 7. The suits that they wear in Solo: A Star Wars Story actually have little spice tubes connected to them, which allow them to snort spice 24/7. They're very big into the galactic spice trade, let's just say that. After this, Boba speaks to the Pyke boss about protection arrangements in the Outer Rim, to which he mentions that he has spoken with his superiors on Obadiah. Obadiah is actually the homeworld of the Pyke Syndicate and featured heavily in the Clone Wars Season 7, when Ahsoka Tano visited the planet with Trace and Rafa Martez after getting into some dangerous situations. Not to mention a group of Mandalorians led by Bo-Katan and Ursa Wren visited there in order to track down Ahsoka for the Siege of Mandalore, which took place right after those episodes. After this, the Pyke boss mentions that the Kintan Striders have already collected protection money for this area, so he's unwilling to pay Boba. Now, the Kintan Strider is literally a piece in the board game Dejarik, seen in pretty much every Star Wars media ever, so it's likely that this crime group has named themselves after this piece, or at least the beast that it's based off. Boba is then forced to leave in shame without payment, so he sets off to resolve things and make sure the Tuskens receive their payment for passage through their lands. And I just have to say that the symbolism on the Pyke's outfit really matches more closely to Crimson Dawn than the Pikes we see in Solo or Clone Wars Season 7. It could just be a coincidence, but the circular patterns could be hinting towards an evolved version of Crimson Dawn after the death of Maul, and now that qi'ra has taken over in the comics. Following this, we get an absolutely heartbreaking scene where Boba Fett returns to the Tusken Raider campsite and sees that all of his fellow Tusken Raider brothers have been slaughtered. He notices the same symbol that he saw on the gang who stole the water earlier and is deeply hurt by the tragedy, probably vowing for revenge. Before we can go any further in this flashback though, Boba Fett is violently awoken from his Bacta tank by the ferocious black-furred wookiee known as Black Krrsantan. Black Krrsantan is a fierce gladiator Wookiee who originates in the Star Wars 2020, Darth Vader 2020 and Dr. Aphra comics, and is currently a member of Aphra's crew. Black Krrsantan absolutely pummels Boba Fett, who's fresh out of the bacta tank, and even uses his electric brass knuckles, which were used many times in the comics. I also have a full video explaining Black Krrsantan, so make sure you check out that video in the pinned comment down below. Following this, Black Krrsantan goes absolutely ballistic, throwing everyone he sees violently in every direction. It's utter chaos. The young street urchins from earlier, as well as Boba Fett's Gamorrean guards, rush in to help, but Black K is too ferocious to be stopped. And if you've read the comics, this action from Black Krrsantan is nothing new. He is pretty much a ferocious beast every time he shows up, and he can take down pretty much anything. Honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if he beat the Rancor if there was actually one down there in the pit with him. Moments later though, he makes a crucial mistake by being lured over the trapdoor and swiftly lowered into the Rancor pit below. Now, this is actually a really weird mistake for him to make, considering Black Krrsantan has been to Jabba's palace many times before in the comics. I guess with the amount of enemies coming at him, he really had no choice but to stand on the trapdoor. Back at the dinner table, Boba Fett knows he must respond to this disgraceful threat against his life, and Fennec tells him that he's the head of a family now. He must do what is necessary. Great little connection here to how the Mafia operate, and it seems the show will be going in that direction much more from here. After that, they are then interrupted once again by the Hutt twins arriving on the scene to deliver a gift. This gift is a depressed Rancor for their pit, delivered by none other than Danny Trejo himself. The Hutts then promise to leave Tatooine after finding out that Mayor Mok Shaiz has promised the territory to a different syndicate, and as they always say, war is bad for business. Now this Rancor could be Moochie from the Bad Batch, which somehow ended up with the two twins after the show, or it could be a completely new one. This Rancor Keeper also probably took over after Malakili left, because when Luke Skywalker killed Patissa in Return of the Jedi, he was severely depressed and wanted to throw himself into the Great Pit of Carkoon. He then travelled to Mos Pelgo, Cobb Vanth's town, to train more, leaving Mos Espa without a Rancor trainer. After this, the trainer mentions that Rancors have been ridden by the witches of Dathomir for many thousands of years, which is a huge reference to both the Legends book, The Courtship of Princess Leia, which first established that law, as well as the Clone Wars and Jedi Fallen Order. Boba Fett then begins the process of learning to tame his new Rancor and ride it, but he's soon interrupted and forced to visit the mayor. Boba Fett even says he's ridden a beast 10 times this Rancor's size. This is probably a reference to Boba Fett's first ever appearance in Star Wars in the holiday special, where he rode a mythosaur-type creature. When they arrive, the mayor isn't there, leading to a massive speeder chase between his majordomo and the swoop gang of street urchins. Honestly, this chase is something straight out of Star Wars Rebels, and you can even see a table of Maelurons be knocked over, which is literally what happened in that show. In the street chase, you can actually see a BB unit rolling down the sand, as well as a painting of Jabba the Hutt featuring Boba Fett right there in the palace. This is actually a Ralph McQuarrie original concept for Return of the Jedi, so it's really cool to see that nice little connection. Eventually, Boba's underling arrives at the ship with a full delegation from the Pyke Syndicate, and he immediately informs Boba about the situation. A turf war is about to kick off, and that's where we end before the next episode. I really don't think that the Pikes will be the big bad of the show, and they themselves are probably vassals for Crimson Dawn and qi'ra, or someone even darker. But let me know in the comments your rating out of 10. So that is my full breakdown of Star Wars The Book of Boba Fett Season 1 Episode 3 The Streets of Mos Espa. Let me know your rating of the episode in the comments, and remember to hit the bell button for more. Thanks so much for watching, really hope you enjoyed the video. Also leave a like while you're down there. Cheers guys, hope to see you in the next one.